1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too.
Screen time, screen time.
Hello and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where two moms review the best and worst in children's programming, from Netflix reboots and YouTube shorts to Disney classics and Pixar blockbusters. We watch, you listen. Find out what you can tolerate watching for family movie night, what to avoid altogether, and what you'll want to watch alone voluntarily. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Katie.
And I have 3 kids. Tony is 14 and Libby and Nate are 10.
And I have 2 kids. Jay is 8 and Kenny is 5. They are pretty stinking adorable, aren't they?
They are.
So we both like to tell a quick story about how awesome or occasionally awful our kids are, because in addition to being witty and incisive pop culture consumers, we're moms too. Deborah, what have your kids been up to lately?
They have all been building with the Legos because they have been saving up some money and they got to go to the Lego store at the Mall of America and buy their own Lego sets with their own money. So that's been fun.
What are their preferred Lego sets?
Nate got, well, these are screen time related. Nate got like a piranha plant, like the decorative Legos that are like 18 plus because you don't really play with them. Nintendo branded. And then Libby saved up like so much money to buy the Diagon Alley set.
Fancy. How's it going? That's big.
Yeah, it took like a week to build.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's so fun to watch them build with Legos.
I love any activity that requires me meticulously following instructions. I find it so satisfying.
How about your kids? What have they been up to?
Jay got braces last week.
Oh.
Did you have braces as a kid?
I did.
So did I. I did not remember this transition period, but I'm sure we both went through it when like every motion of your mouth feels foreign and suddenly you're doing it all differently. So until he gets used to it, just all of his facial expressions are just totally different from the facial expressions that he has made his entire life up to this point. And it's just, I feel for him because it's uncomfortable, but it's adorable to like watch him figure it out just from like a physical perspective.
He's so little. Tony just got braces.
I think the thinking on braces is different from what it was when we were kids, because now there's this whole like phase 1 and phase 2 concept. So like the thinking is if you give them a phase 1 when they're really young, the eventual like teen phase of braces will be shorter, I think.
So did you, because I have only gone to the orthodontist with my kids when the dentist has recommended it. Did you proactively go to the orthodontist? I feel like I'm not getting that benefit of the little kid braces.
First of all, we all just went through older kid braces and it was fine. So let's keep that in mind. But my dentist and my orthodontist are in the same practice. So there's an argument to be made that we could be being fleeced.
No, yeah, I don't know. I've heard that before, and I've seen like lots of younger kids with braces.
Also, Jay has my mouth. I have a small mouth, crowded teeth. It's been obvious for a really long time. So I've been asking every time we go into the dentist.
Sure.
Is it time? Is it time? Is it time?
Got it.
This has been Orthodontia Corner with Katie and Deborah.
A really good like example of the mom anxiety that we talk about a lot. What am I doing wrong, Katie? Tell me.
Exactly. Especially when we know it's going to work out, whether we get our kids braces now or later. It's going to be fine.
Listeners, you may have noticed from the title that we are not reviewing a specific television show or movie or YouTube channel today. What is even happening? Why the wild departure from our regular format, you might be wondering. We're recording right before Thanksgiving, and we have work and family and travel commitments, and so we're trying something a little bit different. Instead of trying to fit in one of our classic reviews and doing a mediocre job of it, we're experimenting with a different format. First, of all, we're going to tell you about some of our guest appearances on other people's podcasts, one of which is a review of a movie. So if you're looking for our bi-weekly review, you can switch over to our friend Julia's podcast, Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we reviewed the old 80s classic Annie.
So fun.
I should also let you know about our appearance on the Parent Tell podcast. We talked with Kayla, the host of Parent Tell, all about the history of parenting advice and our Spock Talk podcast and Dr. Benjamin Spock. And you can listen to that fun conversation over at Parent Tell, which Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous and Parent Tell are both podcasts you should subscribe to and listen to regularly. They're so good.
It was so fun to be on like a true parenting advice podcast because I feel like we're parenting advice adjacent, but that's not our main function. And it was fun to just kind of dive into that world a little bit.
Totally. So that's where you can find us elsewhere. We're going to talk about screen time in the news, and then we're going to talk about upcoming holiday movies on streaming services and in theaters. Is it too soon, Katie, though, to talk about why we're not recording over the holidays?
Okay. The real reason we're not recording over the holidays is because I am traveling alone with my kids and I hate traveling with my laptop. It's just one extra thing when you have all those other things. And last time I thought that I could just bring the trusty recorder that we use and a microphone and borrow my dad's computer. And everything went horribly wrong. Nothing was working. It was a very emotional experience for both me and my father. So I'm just going to avoid ever doing that again at any cost.
Oh, it was funny on my end, so I feel like I can joke about it because I kept watching you on the Zoom screen, couldn't hear a thing. But then I kept seeing like your dad come in, your mom came in, your brother-in-law came in, your sister came in, and everybody's trying to like fix the problem.
I can laugh about it now, but boy, because you really revert to those childhood roles when you're in your childhood home with your parents. So I wanted to be like, look, I am a capable adult who has this exact model of computer that I record on every other week. I should be able to figure this out. But I think because of the rotating crew of family members going through, it was just getting me
So
more and more
stressful.
panicked.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not going to do that, which is why we're bringing you this very exciting departure from our regular formats. Should we jump right into screen time in the news?
Yes.
So today we are discussing a New York Times article by Esther Zuckerman called Are Elf and Love Actually the Last Holiday Classics We'll Ever Get? So I did not remember this, but Love Actually and Elf released on the same date in 2003, November 7th to be exact. And they've gone on, obviously, to be endlessly rewatchable holiday classics, but it's really hard to point to any since then. Zuckerman points out that holiday movies are now rarely released in theaters unless they're gory. And she mentions the movies Violent Night and Silent Night, which seem like they should be the title of the same movie, but they're two different gory holiday movies. And Hallmark makes so many movies per year that while you can sit down and like one of the Hallmark holiday movies, they're instantly forgettable, so they don't necessarily qualify for the classics category. She mentions that even new holiday movies with big stars are released on streaming instead of in theaters. I mean, that's obvious just based on the ones we've reviewed for our show. The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell, Spirited with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, Jingle Jangle with Forrest Whitaker. These are all big stars, and they're releasing these movies for streaming platforms. She does mention briefly that this is, in general, the fate of all mid-budget movies. They're just not released in movie theaters at all anymore, and Christmas movies qualify as mid-budget. I wrote down a quote that I really liked. Towards the end of the article, she says, quote, "Streaming was ostensibly supposed to make movies more accessible, but instead it just makes them feel more disposable. The holidays thrive on nostalgia, and it's hard to be nostalgic for the latest Vanessa Hudgens princess movie you watched while simultaneously scrolling through your Instagram feed." Which is so true.
Mm-hmm.
There's no solution presented here, just sort of a wistful sadness and nostalgia, which is maybe the perfect tone to kick off the holiday season, because that's really what it's all about, right?
I totally underlined that same sentence about disposable streaming movies. It
Yeah.
kind of makes me sad because it's very like this is not the only thing in like capitalism that suffers from quantity over quality.
And even the quality is buried in the quantity. I feel like
Right.
so many holiday movies we've reviewed and said on this very podcast, this is going to make it into my annual classics rotation. Definitely going to watch this with my kids every year. How many of them have you actually done that with?
I wish that Jingle Jangle was more in my rotation because that was really good. We did in my family just talk about rewatching Spirited.
Which was just from last year.
Right. Maybe Will Ferrell is the magic ingredient we need for a
Yeah,
holiday classic.
that's true. Do you rewatch Elf and Love Actually every year?
Definitely not Love Actually. I haven't seen that since probably it came out, which I know makes me an outlier. Elf, I'll watch anytime. I love that movie. But I don't think I like sit down and watch it with my family every year because when we were kids it was like whatever's on cable. That's how we all ended up watching Home Alone so many times, I think. But if you're not just subjected to the whims of the cable programmers, you aren't like forced to rewatch something.
Yeah, I don't know that we actually have any real Christmas rewatchables that we must rewatch with my kids every year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of sad because you're right. I have seen A Christmas Story approximately 1.2 bazillion times for
Mm-hmm.
exactly the reason you said about Home Alone. But you can't force it.
Right.
But no, you have to force it. That's the opposite of what I mean. The cable providers did force it.
Right.
And that's why we're not watching Claws 80 times this holiday season because I genuinely loved that movie. And I would love
Mm-hmm.
for it to be a part of our Christmas tradition.
Yeah, you'll have to lie to your children and say, well, this is the only thing that's on right now.
My current strategy with YouTube is to tell them that they can only watch channels that they're subscribed to and they can't like click on something different from the algorithm,
Mm,
which is working but is obviously not sustainable. But I wish there was a way I could create like a pocket channel in Netflix and be like, okay, these are the 4 movies.
right. Ooh, that's a good idea. Should we move on? Let's move on to our holiday movies list. There are so many, like we just talked about, streaming and in theater. I think we should just take these like one by one, talk about it briefly, and talk about if it's a see or skip.
I think that's a good idea. Where did you find this list?
It's from the New York Times Arts and Leisure section, published on November 4th.
Okay.
Starting off with Best Christmas Ever, a PG movie on Netflix that came out November 16th. The summary is every year at Christmas, Jackie sends a cocky newsletter to her friend Charlotte. Fate brings Charlotte to Jackie's doorstep. As a result, Charlotte tries to prove that her friend's life is not perfect.
Did you watch the trailer?
No, did you?
I went through and I watched the trailer for as many of these as I could find trailers for.
Katie, you're so good.
So we need to mention obviously the stars of this movie are Heather Graham and
Mm-hmm.
Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
And Heather Graham's husband is played by Jason Biggs, who I guess is a star to some people. So the first thing that jumped out at me after watching this trailer was that Heather Graham looks amazing. She looks like she could have stepped off the set of Swingers and made this movie. Like, how many years ago was Swingers? 20 years ago, 23 years
yeah.
ago? She looks amazing. But that said, I don't think I can watch this movie because the comedy of embarrassment makes me supremely uncomfortable. And it looks like that is mostly what this movie is.
Yeah, it's probably a skip. I don't think for my kids it's not something they're going to be into.
Yeah, it looks of a lot of the things on the list, it's one of the less kid focused ones. It's kind
Hmm.
of trying to focus on the grown-ups in maybe a similar way that your Christmas Vacation does.
Hmm.
And as we've discussed on this podcast a lot, I think kids have less tolerance for that these days.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Hmm.
The next one on the list is Trolls Band Together, which came out on November 17th in theaters and is rated PG. This is the third installment in the Trolls franchise. And the summary goes like this. Poppy discovers that Branch and his four brothers were once part of her favorite boy band. When one of his siblings, Floyd, gets kidnapped by a pair of nefarious villains, Branch and Poppy embark on a harrowing and emotional journey to reunite the other brothers and rescue Floyd from a fate even worse than pop culture obscurity. What do you think of this one?
My kids adamantly do not want to see it.
Really?
I would totally go. I think the Trolls movies are kind of fun, but I don't think we're going to see it because I'm not going to go by myself.
Have they seen the other Trolls movies and not liked them, or are they anti-Trolls across the board?
I think this is a moment in time where they want to be big kids and not little kids.
Gotcha. Which is funny because this movie is squarely pitched at grown-ups because the whole
Hmm.
hook is that they're reuniting in sync to be this boy band. So
Hmm.
they have
Hmm.
all the original members coming on, and that's made for elder millennials who now
Right.
have kids, right?
Yeah, I like the soundtracks of the Trolls movies. That is a big draw.
I am going to see it because we have been invited to a birthday party screening. So we're all going, and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have seen it otherwise. Do you remember the second Trolls movie was like the first streaming only movie that was released during the
Yes.
pandemic, and there was all that ink spilled about how it made so much money and everything's going to be okay. Hollywood is going to survive this even if we can't go to the
Hmm.
theaters. Wow, what a wild time.
Right. Okay, I should say I didn't grab all of the summaries from the New York Times. Some are just from like the IMDb or even the studio website.
Gotcha.
I didn't cite my work, sorry.
Oh,
I
we're
didn't
such
cite
bad
my
librarians.
It's not my work. I just copied and pasted. Okay, the next one we're talking about is Leo, rated PG, out November 17th, also on Netflix. I don't think this is really a holiday movie, but it's coming out at holiday time. But it's got Adam Sandler in it. He plays a lizard named Leo. It's a coming of age musical comedy about the last year of elementary school as seen through the eyes of a class pet. Leo the lizard has been stuck in the same Florida school for decades. He tries to escape, but then he has to rescue his class from their mean substitute teacher. I don't know. Musical, Adam Sandler, Florida school. For me, this one is a C.
It's a skip for me. Adam Sandler is not one that I have ever been fond of. He's
Fair.
doing a voice. He's doing a silly voice because I watched the
Mm-hmm.
trailer, of course. I think it's a skip for me. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's no musical element in the trailer. I hate it when they do that, when they say it's going to be a musical and then they don't
Mm.
give you a taste at all of what that's going to be like.
Right.
The next on the list is the newest Disney musical, Disney animated musical, Wish, which premiered in theaters on November 22nd, rated PG. In Wish, Asha, a sharp witted idealist, makes a wish so powerful that it's answered by a cosmic force, a little ball of boundless energy called Star. Together, Asha and Star confront a most formidable foe, the ruler of Rosas, King Magnifico, to save her community and prove that when the will of one courageous human connects with the magic of the stars, wondrous things can happen. What do you think?
I think this is a C in theaters.
Has to be. Always the Disney musicals always deliver.
Mm-hmm. I, for one, am not doing, oh, listeners, you'll probably listen to this after Thanksgiving break, but we are not going out of town. And so going to the theater to see this movie would be fun on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Is it Lin-Manuel Miranda?
It's not.
Dang.
It's actually, the songs are going to be by Julia Michaels, who
Okay.
is a pop singer. Like, I don't think she's composed musicals before.
Okay.
So I was kind of disappointed that it's not going to be Lin-Manuel Miranda or the Lopez's, the duo behind Frozen.
Hmm.
I gotta hope that they will figure it out and it'll be great. They seem to know what they're doing.
Disney never does a bad soundtrack.
Yeah, I have to rant a little bit about the fact that Asha's sidekick in this movie is a goat. And I have issues with animated goats and the fact that
Their
they're always
eyes.
portrayed as super cute and we're not confronting the reality of scary goat eyes. So I just have to go on the record with that complaint. Still definitely going to see the movie, hoping to enjoy it.
Out November 30th on Netflix, rated PG, is the movie Family Switch. A family descends into chaos days before Christmas when a rare cosmic event causes the parents to swap bodies with their teenage kids. This one looks fun mostly because it stars Jennifer Garner and Ed Helms. I love a like parent switch what's the original one? Freaky
Freaky
Friday
Friday. Mm-hmm.
plot, yeah.
And Jennifer Garner, we already know, is really good at the whole I'm uncomfortable in this body comedy because 13
Hmm.
Going on 30 is such a classic.
Yeah, this one's definitely a C.
Speaking of 13 Going on 30, there was a moment in the trailer that made me so sad because the couple, Jennifer Garner, Ed Helms, both great. They make the switch. They're like talking about how crazy it is. They say, "This has never happened before. This is the weirdest thing." And one of them says, "I know. I'm 13 going on 30." And another of them says, "I'm 17 again." Which, of course, are
Oh,
two
funny.
movies in which something similar has happened. And it just made me think, did they ask Matthew Perry to be the husband? Was this meant for him? Because he
Oh,
was in 17 again with Zac Efron.
maybe.
And Jennifer Garner, of course, was 13 going on 30. And it just made me sad because
Oh,
we just
yeah.
lost Matthew Perry recently and he would have had a funny take on this role. Let's talk about Candy Cane Lane. Rated PG, coming out on Amazon Prime Video on December 1st. A man makes a deal with a mischievous elf who casts a magic spell that brings the 12 days of Christmas to life. It stars Eddie Murphy and Tracy Ellis Ross. This is a see it for me. The trailer looked cute.
Eddie Murphy is absolutely a C for me. And I think Amazon Prime has underrated content.
Yep. It's
Stuff
because
on Amazon is pretty good.
if you had to say what kind of content Amazon makes, could you? I feel like the problem is their content is kind of all over the place branding wise. So you don't think
Hmm.
about it because it's so diverse.
Right. And they don't promote it the way the other streaming companies do. Okay. A theater movie, Waitress the Musical. I hesitated before putting this in because I'm not sure if it's actually for kids, but it's based on the Broadway musical comedy drama. And no, it's not based on it. It's the live stage recording of the 2023 American musical comedy drama, which is based on the 2007 film. This one is confusing to me. I just saw Broadway musical. Comes out December 7th and it's 2 hours and 39 minutes.
But that's standard for a musical, right?
You're more of a musical fan than I am. So how do you feel about this one?
I have seen Waitress the musical and liked
Hmm.
it. I have seen Waitress the movie and liked it more than the musical. But the thing about this filmed version is that it stars Sarah Bareilles, who wrote the music for the musical. And when she did this limited
Oh,
run on Broadway playing the lead role, people just went bonkers. Like,
got it.
it was instantly beloved. So I like that they've recorded it and they're releasing it so more people can see it. I think that she's great. I don't think that I'll see it, and and I should emphasize this, I do not think it's for kids.
Okay.
There's the plot hinges on a waitress having an affair with her OB while she's pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe see it with your friends, but not with your kids.
Yes, it is
Okay.
definitely a great girlfriend movie because there's a lot of meaningful friendships.
Okay. Got it.
We've got, definitely for kids, Merry Little Batman, which premieres on December 8th on Amazon Prime Video. This Christmas, Damian Wayne wants to be a superhero like his dad, the one and only Batman. When Damian is left home alone while Batman takes on Gotham's worst supervillains on Christmas Eve, he stumbles upon a villainous plot to steal Christmas and leaps at the chance to save the day. What do you think about this one?
This one looks really cute. I like a baby superhero plot.
I think that in general, the DC Universe comics characters really thrive when they move outside of the main canon.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also loved Lego Batman. I thought that was really fun.
Right.
So I am willing to give this a chance. But, dear listeners, your mileage may vary depending on A, superhero fatigue, and B, fondness for Batman, which we can all admit that the DC characters are like second tier in our current age of Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next movie we are going to review later in December. It's Wonka, which is the origin story of Willy Wonka, which you might be thinking, do we need another Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie? And I guess the answer is yes, because this one stars Timothy Chalamet and it's more about Wonka's background than Charlie. Comes out December 15th in theaters. And I, for one, am looking forward to this one.
I am too, because again, musical, but
Mm-hmm.
again, not a musical in the trailer, which really bummed me out. Like, give me a
Mm-hmm.
taste. I want to see, like, at least the outlines of a giant dance number.
Yeah, and this one it's not really a holiday movie, but it's a big one coming out at the holidays. So,
And I feel like if the theme is candy, it can be lumped into
yeah,
holiday movies,
sure.
right?
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So, another non holiday movie, but one I am certainly looking forward to, Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget. So, it's coming out December 15th on Netflix, and it is a sequel to the original Chicken Run. And I can't believe I didn't write down the year, but it came out in the late 90s, I believe. So, having escaped from the farm, Ginger and Rocky welcome a new little adventurer into their lives. Back on the mainland, the whole of chicken kind faces a terrible new threat. That is a very concise summary, but I can't wait for this movie.
That's hilarious. This one is a skip for me. I didn't really like the first Chicken Run so much.
Well, you know how I feel about stop motion animation.
Right.
And Aardman, the studio behind Chicken Run, is really the studio that birthed my love of stop motion animation with Wallace and Gromit. So I really liked the first Chicken Run. So I'm excited for this one.
Nice. Okay, one more to mention. This one's not a movie, it's a TV show. So on Disney Plus, the second season of The Santa Clauses just came out in November 2023. We deliberately skipped The Santa Clauses last year because Tim Allen isn't a star that we care to spend any time watching.
Hang on. Point of order. We did cover the Santa Clauses.
What?
Yes, I watched it for a lightning round.
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh. Did you watch the whole like was it good enough? Did you watch the whole thing?
I think we definitely watched more than the couple of episodes that I had set myself for the purposes of the lightning round because it really is like a serialized story. But I don't know that we made it all the way to the end, or it could just be that I don't remember how it ended.
Well, I am going to rethink my aversion to Tim Allen, and I might check this one out because I recently learned that Cal Penn plays a role in this, which you probably told me last year, but I didn't remember. So I might give this one a try, and I have to use this as a segue to my Hollywood adjacent brag story. I just met Cal Penn. And when I say met Cal Penn, I mean that I watched him give a talk on a stage. And then I was like on high alert watching which door he exited out of because I was going to like plan where I was going to run out of this conference room. And So he came like through the audience when he was done and he left out a door where I was sitting right by. So I like ran out the door, phone in hand, yelling, "Mr. Penn, excuse me, Mr. Penn." And he like stopped and turned and like he was leaving, like he was out. He was going somewhere else to a very important Hollywood place. And I asked if I could take a selfie, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And then I just blabbered about what a big fan I was of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Oh.
And then I asked him for John Cho's phone number.
You gotta shoot your shot. You really do.
I'm just kidding. I didn't mention John Cho, but I am happy to report that for a brief moment in time, I was only 1 degree away from John Cho.
Wow. Oh, Deborah, you're really living all your dreams. I love it so much. Well, I am extremely jealous. I do have one less interesting piece of follow up from our last episode. I finally watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because it recently became available to stream on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just talk about it because we did talk about it in a lightning round a while ago, and you got to see it in the theaters, and you were so enthusiastic, and you said, "Katie, you have to see this in the theater because it's beautiful and it's a great theatrical experience." I never made it because my kids weren't super interested.
Mm-hmm.
And we did ultimately watch it over the course of like 5 nights. We chopped it up into very, very small pieces. But even then, I could tell how beautiful this movie is. Oh my goodness. It just smacked me across the face with its innovation and depth of visual storytelling.
Yeah, nice. Huh, that's an interesting way to watch it. How did your kids like it? Did they regret not seeing it in the theater?
No, I think it was a smart choice because they would never have
Okay,
lasted because it's quite long.
it is long.
Miles Morales is a young adult at the point that this story is taking place. The themes aren't really as accessible to little kids.
Mm-hmm.
So they liked it. They liked just the visual chaos of it,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to go back and watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It didn't like pique their interest in this version of Spider-Man anymore, and I can kind of see why. I just think they're still a little young for it, but they were troopers. They hung with it in like 30-minute increments, and we made it through, and I was really glad for the experience.
Nice. I have two more things I want to say. One, I haven't read Harriet the Spy, but I requested it from the library and it's on my Kindle.
Nice.
So maybe I will. And then two, a couple weeks ago, we posted on our website some tips for family movie night at home, kind of in response to that screen time in the news article we read, where the mom was complaining about not enough movies in the theater. We think you can kind of create a theater experience at home. Okay, this is what I'm going to do for the December month. Every weekend, I'm going to schedule a family movie night and I'm going to pick one of these from the list that's streaming and I'm going to force my kids to sit down with me and watch a movie and we're going to do the whole popcorn, blankets. We're going to do the whole experience and we'll probably go to at least one in the theater, Wish or Wonka. And I'm just at the point where it's no longer the pandemic. We've got more things to do in our lives than watch movies in the evening. But I love holiday movies with the family. So I'm going to put it on the calendar and make it a thing that I cross off later on and feel very productive doing.
Yeah, what a great way to like welcome in the holiday season, which is all about spending more time with family. And
Mm-hmm.
that sounds so cozy and wonderful. I think I might steal it. Listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of It's My Screen Time Too. If you enjoyed our show today, please share it with someone you think might enjoy it too. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at My Screen Time Too, or send an email to myscreentime2@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your show or movie suggestions, whether you're watching any of these holiday movies or excited to see them coming up, any article recommendations you might have, or just general comments about the show. Our website is myscreentime2.com. Our theme music was composed and performed by Deborah and her adorable children, and our podcast is produced by me, Katie. You can hear more from us on our other podcast, Spock Talk, where we discuss the life and legacy of Dr. Benjamin Spock. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV we watch with our kids because we have to, and sometimes because we like to. Bye!
Bye.
Screen time, screen time, screen